Hi everyone, back again. Once again, Happy New Year. This is Ali. We're back again with the DVR Pod, episode 90, if I have my maths correct and my release schedule. We have come back after several weeks off, at least three, if not four. And we have on this episode, we're starting up our 2021 with our with a guest that we've been looking to speak to for a long time. लेकिन वो फिर बात हमने काफी पहले की थी, लेकिन फिर scheduling वगैरह हम lazy हो गए. But finally, opening up the new year, the new season with Mr. Maanu himself. Sir, कैसे हैं आप? Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, man. बिल्कुल fit हूँ. How are you?
Good, good. यार वही मैं बता रहा था. I was looking at the schedule, Instagram DMs में where I stalk people and then harass them कि आप please आ जाएं. तो उसमें I was looking. I think we spoke to you maybe November शायद.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, तो फिर मैंने हाँ
पिछले साल
yes. चलो अभी तो फिर भी ये जोक जायज है. जो लोग ये जोक जनवरी 1st 2nd को करना शुरू रहते हैं उनको तो
That's a bit lame, नहीं?
yeah कत्ल कर देना चाहिए उनको. But yeah, I made the agenda. I was like, yeah, let's get back to some of the people we were talking to. I remember यार shit नवंबर में मैंने बॉय से बात की थी. उसके बाद ना सलाम ना दुआ, मैंने कुछ पूछा ही नहीं मैंने कि भाई क्या चल रहा है. तो how has your 2020 been, Manu साहब? आपके काफी eventful साल रहा with the release of your album. This episode is primarily about the album, but also we'll talk about, whatever else comes to mind. So how have you been? How are things? How is 2021 leading into the new year?
Yeah, 2021 is slow, but also because 2020 was like the turning point for me. Because like I feel like everything before that was just all leading up to like 2020. Because end of 2019, I was told that like LMM wants me to play there and all of that. So I knew कि okay, अब जो है जरा scene शुरू होने लगे. Like this is where people actually start like noticing me and stuff. So I started the year with playing the festival that I always wanted to play, which was an amazing feeling given कि like abhi tak I hadn't released the album yet, but people still somehow knew the songs. So that was an amazing experience. And 2020 overall, yeah, it's been a really hectic year for me work-wise because I'm in university, I'm at LUMS. So because of quarantine, like मुझे एकदम से एक chance मिल गया to like just focus on my music, something that I had been wanting to do for the past 2-3 years, but I hadn't been able to, obviously, because मतलब I was juggling both and like वो वाली बात कि एक भी नहीं सीख से कर पा रहा था. Like, so 2020 was like, अच्छा boy, एक सेकंड रुक, ये कर ले जरा, फिर देखी जाएगी आगे कैसे करना है. So yeah, like I finally found the time to like finalize videos for the album, and the album was like I've been saying since like I think January 2018 or something कि यार Yain City आ रही है. So हाँ 2 साल लगे, but I mean I think it was an important like learning curve, and like I'm happy with all that I was able to achieve like last year, because I got to work with a lot of people that I've always wanted to work with, and I think I got the kickstart like that I needed basically. कि अच्छा अब I can still like, I mean I can still start saying कि okay, I have a career in music now.
Right. अच्छा, we'll come to the album a bit, but एक आपने बड़ी मजे की बात की कि you're in LUMS, लेकिन quarantine की वजह से मतलब पढ़ाई का कोई सीन ही नहीं था. इसका मतलब 2020 में fully focus on music का मतलब how is that working? Like I'm curious. It's been
not nice. I would not recommend. Like,
is everything like remote or घर से और ये वो?
Everything is remote. सारी classes online हो रही हैं. This is like मेरा आज अगला like semester शुरू हुआ है. It's my final semester, like senior year का. I'm about to graduate. But like to be honest, ये semester से पिछला और उससे पिछला भी like मैं तो अभी तक मेरे like सही से like accept भी नहीं कर पाया कि ये this is like ये classes असल में हो, like I'm just in denial, I can't take it seriously, like I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah. Are you giving exams also online?
Yeah, online exams, हमारे oral vivas हुए हैं and stuff, and
Wow.
रट्टों वाला scene like full on.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But going back then to the album, so this I think I usually some a way I have to keep things in track in my mind is I go like chronologically. So you mentioned कि the album you've been talking about since 2018. So when did you start? Yeah, मतलब तुम्हारा लम्स अभी खत्म हो रहा है. I'm assuming bachelor's, undergrad. So you're not super old. When did you start getting involved in music?
Yeah, I've been playing music my whole life. Like, luckily, जब मैं बहुत छोटा ही था, my dad's really into music.
Right.
He's an artist, but क्या कहते हैं, उनको म्यूजिक का बहुत शौक था, तबला भी बजाते हैं और ईस्टर्न क्लासिकल गायकी का बहुत ज्यादा शौक था. तो बचपन से दिमाग में मेरे बस फीड हो रही थी वो इन्फॉर्मेशन. And then when I was very young, so they also got me a piano teacher, and for a very brief time मैंने शागिर्दी भी की थी with the मतलब उस्ताद के साथ for vocal training, which was very important. I think, but I now realize how important it was for the longest time. So I was used to just run from it.
Hmm.
But in 2016, after I finished my A levels, I took basically 2016 में ही A levels करते हुए ही like towards जब जिन दिनों मेरे exams चल रहे थे, I randomly just decided कि why not just try writing a song or something, because that was the point where you're coming off of like peak Coke Studio era and everything. So everything is very cover based. Everything is recycling the same names over and over again. None of the music being made was any music that me and my friends could relate to. Hence, we were listening to like American music, which was
Hmm.
weird in itself. कि like, मतलब, why am I relating to those people more, bro? Like, मतलब, वो मेरे से कितना
Yeah.
दूर रहते हैं.
Yeah.
कोई सीन ही नहीं है. मैं बोल भी नहीं सकता उनसे. Like, they don't, in the sense कि they don't know who I am. Like, मतलब,
Right.
इन लोगों को क्यों नहीं पता जो मेरे से 3 गलियां दूर रहते हैं. Like, ये क्या बात है कह रहे हैं.
Right. Right.
So it came out of frustration and just started writing songs. And shuru mein they were really shit, obviously, but aista like it reached a point where I was listening to a recording and I was like, damn, ye to nasik hai. Like, matlab, this is something that I want to sing for my mom or something. Like, maybe
Nice.
she'll like it. And then
Was it always rap? Shuru se?
no. It started from a very acoustic pop,
Hmm.
very cheesy Pakistani
Sure.
singer-songwriter stuff. Because I
Right.
grew up listening to Atif Vagera.
Say say.
So that's where I started from. And then eventually I don't know, tried my hand at making something electronic. And then Jamal Rehman from True Brew in Lahore, he really pushed me. He's like, hey, bro, देख ये singer songwriter और guitar वाली चीजें हर कोई करता है.
Hmm.
तो like तू कोई ऐसी चीज कर जो which sets you apart from everyone. So I was like, okay, I'll maybe start incorporating like flows into my melodies and make it not, because अगर सिर्फ melodic गाना हो तो it's purely just based on how well the singer is singing. Like सारा focus उस पे चला जाता है.
Right.
With my music, I don't want you to be focusing on कि ओ यार इतना किसने कितना अच्छा गाया है, but just कि like ये melody मेरे दिमाग से नहीं निकल रही.
Right.
That's the goal. So yeah, I've just sorry मैं थोड़ा tangent में
No,
चला
no,
गया
that's
हूँ.
fine. That's fine. Yeah, yeah. All relevant.
Yeah, so I've been doing music properly, like writing my own stuff since 2016. So like almost 5 years now. And I mean, I feel like वहाँ से proper journey शुरू होती है. And just yeah, the first 2 years was just writing as many songs as possible, playing whatever show I could play, मतलब मुफ्त में.
Hmm.
But it was important for me to like मतलब start somewhere, at least playing live is really interesting because you get to see whether or not your song is even like मतलब is even digestible for people or not. And when you're starting out तो आप तो बस यही देखना चाहते हो कि अच्छा लोग सुनना चाहते भी हैं या नहीं सुनना.
Acha.
तो
So
yeah.
who were you listening to at the time? Who I guess would somehow consciously, subconsciously be an influence. Ek to ye sawal. And then we've been talking to a few people about Pakistan ke music scene, about the existence or lack of existence of music scene. So usme the second question I would have after the influence one is when you started playing, live, where would you play? I'm assuming in Lahore ही होगा. So what were the venues? What was the vibe? Because I've grown up in Karachi, जितना भी time Pakistan में गुजरा है, and that was also like 2010 तक. उसके बाद से I've been outside of the country, so I'm not aware of the scene. In the past 5 years, मुझे through my friend Nadir in Sikandar का बंदर, I've seen okay they're doing concerts or शायद कुछ scene है. True Brew I've heard of. But वैसे लाहौर का like regular scene, I'm not sure. So yeah, influences and where did you start out playing?
Influences, do you mean for like the transition from pop to from acoustic to like making like more hip hop based stuff, or what I was
Both,
listening to today?
both,
Both.
because you were probably drawing on the influences at both times.
Yeah, so I started, yeah, one of the main artists जिसको मैंने देख के like I started writing songs was Ed Sheeran.
Okay.
Because उसका एक ये scene था कि like he's singing but he's also singing with the flow. There's
Yeah.
some elements of
Yeah.
hip hop in it. It's not like bars वाला hip hop नहीं है.
Right.
But he was just really good at writing melodies and writing catchy songs, and like that really attracted me. So शुरू में it was like acoustic जो उस तरह के बस just in Urdu basically like मतलब उस तरह के गाने थे. And then my friend just started, like one of my friends just started listening to hip hop all of a sudden, and उसने मुझे सुनाना शुरू कर दिया. And I remember this is the same time जब like Straight Outta Compton भी निकली थी and everything.
Right.
And yeah, I kind of jumped on the bandwagon.
Right.
But then I really started getting into it, and I was like, "Ye ज़्यादा मज़े, like this is more interesting to write in the sense that like with an acoustic song that you're writing on a guitar, like आप घंटे में बहुत एक simple सा एक formula बनाते हुए गाना बना सकते हो. But with hip hop, like it's more of a challenge because you have to remain interesting without incorporating melodies, and you have to stay relatable and stuff. So I think I just started listening to that, and yeah, it was completely by accident actually. Like, matlab, I had never really planned on कि यार अच्छा नहीं अब मैं rapper बन जाऊँगा. It was more like I just started writing on electronic music, and I was like, because I reached a point where I was playing shows and people really liked the songs, but they were like, "वो अपनी flashlights निकाल के ना वो वाला
Oh no.
वो वाला scene." It's not their fault. I was making that kind of music now.
Right.
So I was like, and I used to love that shit, shuru mein. And then like I started playing shows with other people, and then I would play my set, and then they would go on stage, and they would just be playing electronic music, and everyone would just be like, "Yes." I was like, that's the feeling I want. I want people to like,
right.
I want them to come to a show and just be like, hey, yo, that was one of the best nights of the whole month or the whole year or something like that. It was maza hai, like, you know, like rather than just emotional feels and all of that. Like I want people to have fun and make happy memories to it.
Okay.
So वो एक phase आया where I was just like नहीं यार अब मुझे थोड़ा धमाकेदार like music चाहिए. I want people to be having a good time. I want कि आप whenever you need to pick me up, like this is your go-to.
And where were you playing then? What were the venues जहाँ flashlights भी थी और party भी हो रही थी? What sort of places are these in Lahore? This is for like a non-Pakistani resident सवाल है ये.
यार कोई सच है नहीं venues, but मुझे मेरा वो वाला point था कि यार like no one knew me, तो मेरे कोई नखरे भी नहीं थे. तो मुझे जो मैंने like एक जगह थी guitar school लाहौर में, where I interned for a long time and they exploited the shit out of me. But क्या कहते हैं, नहीं they promised me पूरी album record होएगी, ये होगा वो होगा. मैं 8 महीने उनके पास काम कर, मुझे 1,000 रुपए देते थे वो पेट्रोल का स्टाइपेंड महीने का 1,000 रुपए. मतलब ब्रो लाइक क्या करूं. But so that I played a couple of shows there. I remember the first show that me and my friend Maju, who's also on Khwab, me and Maju started making music together. Hamari puri like journey is like a joint combined.
Right.
So हमने जब shows किए थे bro, like 3 लोग आते थे including my mom and my khala. So literally one person showed up at our first show. फिर हमने एक पीरूज में किया था, उधर ये वाला scene हुआ था.
Right.
Like so like कोने में एक दो couples there having a good time. It's like nice bro. And यार farmers markets पे like मतलब वो वाली gigs के like कोई सुन भी नहीं रहा आपको.
Right.
बट आप
Just like
आ रहे हो क्योंकि आपके पास ऑप्शन नहीं है लाइक एक बंदा भी आपने फैन बना लिया तो आपको लगता है आपने कोई
yeah,
अचीवमेंट कर ली है
yeah.
लाइक
Okay.
so शुरू में तो it was that and then it reached a point where like slowly मतलब I was getting better I guess as well like मतलब
Yeah.
and then I met Jamal and Jamal ने फिर like Jamal kind of like started मतलब he just started advising me and pushing me in the right direction कि boy तू इस चीज पे focus कर ये कर वो कर and then yeah and then I think the first proper show I played was I opened for Janubi Khargosh at True Brew and that was crazy because like this is the matlab, first time anyone's listening to my music and I remember like I opened with CGPA and
Right.
like wo
Right.
gana khatam hua tha, like for like 20-25 seconds everyone was just screaming and that was just the most amazing feeling because
Right.
everyone was like ye kaun bacha aa gaye aur aake gaaliyan de ke hum sabko like क्या हो रहा है?
Right.
Like, but हाँ that's the and yeah so venues इतने थे नहीं कभी अब जाके फिर भी खुल गए हैं थोड़े there is this place called Strictly Social
Okay.
in Lahore जहाँ पे shows वगैरह अभी I just did some and the Colony is a place in Lahore as well they have a really nice venue they
अच्छा.
just shifted locations and but this is like I mean, this is when you reach a point where venues can bank on you. कि यार नहीं, this guy can pull in a crowd and we can
Hmm.
make money off of
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
And
अच्छा.
that takes a long time to get there. Like, yeah.
So that's an interesting thing that we'll talk about, I think, towards the end of it. You mentioned तुम्हारे शुरू में अम्मी खाला वगैरह आए हुए थे. The family scene was शुरू से supportive.
बहुत ज़्यादा यार. I feel like I'm the most like privileged musician in the scene right now. Just solely because of this. Like my parents have always been really supportive. I mean, they've always been very concerned उस sense में कि यार कोई degree ले लो मतलब इस तरह का profession. Because my dad comes from he's an artist. NCA में पढ़ाते रहे हैं वो and everything. So everyone was always like, this is not like the arts are not a career to have if you want like a steady inflow
Income.
of income.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
मतलब उसी है ही नहीं भूल जाओ. So get a degree and ताकि तुम साथ साथ like मतलब साथ साथ या backup plan or whatever उस sense में. But I mean था भी pressure obviously there was a because pressure उस जमाने में ज़्यादा था because A levels के बाद I took a gap year. जिसमें
Okay.
I was just like मैं because I was going into med school पहले and
Oh.
उसका system ही थोड़ा different होता है admission का ज़रा ज़्यादा like late होते हैं उनके
Right.
so
Right.
I was forced into a gap year because I realized that I don't want to do medicine. I want because this is the same time where I started writing my own music. So I was like, okay, no, I want to do music, but at the same time, I hadn't proved it to myself nor to my parents that I can do it. Like, matlab.
Right.
So it. I mean, they've always been very supportive, but I've Shukar had reached a point where now they're not worried anymore
Right.
either. They're like कि हाँ नहीं अगर अभी से इसने before graduating थोड़े बहुत पैसे कमाने शुरू करती हैं तो मतलब easy scene है like कर लेगा. तो मैं बहुत lucky हूँ उस sense में I have the best parents
That
in
is,
that.
yeah, that is quite good. But it's also, I think, apart from your parents being like cool people, उनको खुद भी क्योंकि arts वगैरह का exposure personally रह चुका है. So it's not something, that's completely out of the blue कि हमारे खानदान में तो आज तक किसी ने गाना नहीं गाया. But okay, when does this album start to come about? 2018 is the date you mentioned, but when do you start working on this set of songs?
Yeah, so I always wanted the goal was always to make an album. Before I started working on Yain City, so because I was writing acoustic music, तो एक और
Yeah.
album पूरी planned थी,
Yeah.
which then I scrapped completely. I didn't release a single song from it. And then in 2018 is where 2018, yeah, is when I wrote Darwaze and CGPA. And this was like, I think, one day apart. Like, and as soon as I wrote those two songs, like, मतलब एकदम से I realized कि ये क्या हुआ है, like ये तो एक और game शुरू हो गई है.
Right.
And I was like, no, maybe this is what I was always supposed to do. So उसके बाद से like the whole approach or like imagination of the album for me, it changed. And उसके बाद it was just कि okay, every song that I write and I like is going to be on this album. So then उस sense में like I started writing on it and obviously like वो जो final track list है it kept changing. गाने आते गए, गाने निकलते गए, आते गए, निकलते गए. Because like मतलब there was always एक दिमाग में वो था कि यार कभी किसी दिन तलाल कुरैशी के साथ काम करने हैं, कभी ये करने हैं, और वो फिर चीजें होनी शुरू हो गई. I was like, why not on the first album then? Why do I have to wait for this? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys were willing to work with like Talal and Zara Paracha, like because मतलब this was coming from a time where Sikandar Ka Mandir was my favorite band, like in Pakistan period. It's just like Zara P is suddenly like, by the way, do you want to like record your whole album with me? And I was like, ये क्या हुआ मेरे साथ, like dreams coming true type vibes.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, so then I just started working on it. And then Yain City bhi, like the whole concept of the album, it's not a concept album, but there is a running theme. There
Yeah.
is certain things that I want to get across through the album.
Yeah.
That whole thing I think came, it wasn't like a completely predetermined like thing, premeditated nahi tha us sense mein. I always knew that the first project should be in a way dedicated to Lahore because it had elements of hip hop, and I felt that Lahore ki koi as such identity nahi thi as ki like okay, this sound or these two artists represent Lahori music,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that was the purpose, basically, to somehow give the city a new sound, and like a new sound also in the sense that you hear it and you can still relate some sort of like nostalgia with it, which is not in musical terms in the sense that koi bahut desi instruments वगैरह नहीं use हुए and
Right.
stuff.
Right. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was the reason I didn't want कि अगर कोई album लाहौर के बाद बन रही हो तो वो लाहौर का postcard image दे रही हो आपको कि बादशाही मस्जिद है और सितार बज रहे हैं and stuff. You know, like that's the postcard image. That's the tourist Lahore.
Yeah.
मतलब that's the Lahore that we go to जब कोई tourist आता है और हम उसको दिखाते हैं कि भाई ये भी हुआ था यहाँ पे. But like जो हमारा लाहौर है जहाँ पे हमारा उठना बैठना होता है रोज का, उसकी क्या है representation? Like I just wanted to make an album कि like हर कोई जो लाहौर में है वो सुने and they're like I can relate to this shit. Like हाँ मैं हाँ ये जिस रोड की बात की है मैं वहाँ से रोज गुजरता हूँ.
Right. Right. Lahore for Lahoris. वो वाला Lahore.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, because I might like in my limited knowledge मुझे कराची में चलो पता है कुछ hip hop artists का और you know it's maybe like the LUG या Young Stunners या जो भी हैं. Lahore में I know I've heard obviously of Faris Shafi, but Faris Shafi hasn't made a ton of songs, and his songs I don't know if his songs would go that direction either, like representing Lahore, talking about Lahore. They're more like theme based or something. So there definitely was a gap. So if we go through the songs, I had a few that I had listed because I was trying to understand where the songs came from. Now CGPA seems a lot about just Maanu in school or Maanu in university, but and is how many of these songs are, for example, because you started writing कहने को तो 5 years ago, but 5 years is not in the grand scheme of things album shalom बनाने के हिसाब से not a very long time, but these songs are fully formed ideas, concepts वगैरह. How many of these songs on the album would you say are about you personally? How many would be about the Lahore wali situation, more conceptual, or is it like a mix in all of them?
It's a mix because the whole idea was that I'll tell my story and my story is not different from anyone else's. So if I can tell my story in a way that a lot of people can relate to it and make it their own, so I've done my job. So it was always like every song is an experience that I had while writing the album. Like CGPA is directly from like ek exam mera tha agle din and I didn't know shit. And I was like, and मैं साथ साथ दरवाजे लिख रहा था and I was like कि मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ, like there's something that I can do like that I'm good at and like मुझे math like calculus पढ़नी पड़ रही है, ये क्या हो रहा है मेरे साथ, this can't be it, this can't be the meaning or the purpose of my life for the next 3 years कि like बस यही है बस जिंदगी में हम. So but at the same time वो गाना एक बना एक उस तरह का like when I wrote it and even while I was writing it, the purpose was कि ये कोई सुने तो उनको ये ना लगे कि सिर्फ मानू की कहानी है, ये like a lot of people can relate to it, and which has happened. Like a lot of people come up to me and they're like, yeah, that song, like I relate to it so much. Like this gives me hope कि like there's someone else who's also fucking up there academics and it's okay. Like your whole life It does not have to just be based on that. If you're good at something else, like
Yeah.
एक number नहीं dictate करेगा कि आपकी
That
जिंदगी
is,
की.
and that's interesting that you're doing this because the शुरू में जो तुमने बात की थी वो ये था कि मैं अमेरिकन आर्टिस्ट वगैरह सुन रहा हूँ, पाकिस्तानी को इतना नहीं सुन रहा, because you feel like हमारी म्यूजिक में you couldn't relate to what they were singing about, talking about, whereas in Western music, perhaps because there's so much diversity of genres, you could really find someone whose situation you could relate to. So that is sort of what started you partially on this journey as well. And it seems that it's something that you have achieved, where you're making like relatable music. तुम तो ना अपनी story लिखती ना, and sort of open ended, not fully specific to you, but people are understanding it for what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. Yeah, this I can't be the best judge of that. Like
Yeah,
as
मेरे
like,
गाने best हैं.
yeah, I did it. I did it everything on first album. Like I told you.
No, no,
नहीं, but
but to
I
some
mean, मेरे
extent,
दिमाग में like वो एक था कि यार, I mean, when you just start making music and you start dreaming, so you're dreaming really, really big. Like you're like, मैं आतिफ के साथ गाना बनाऊंगा. Like वो लाभ होता है, मैं रात के साथ वो करूंगा.
yeah,
और आपकी वो वाइब होती है. And then आपका वो decline होना शुरू होता है.
okay,
And then वो फिर से एक point पे when you actually start doing something and momentum बनना शुरू होता है, then it starts increasing again. और कुछ artists उसी जगह पे फंस जाते हैं, like in that demotivation वो.
right.
And like कुछ जो है, and then they start like, I mean, I hope so. But so I don't know exactly how to put it, but yeah, like matlab, it's just matlab relatability is the most important thing in pop music. Like अगर कोई भी relate कर रहे है, at the शुरू में was the goal was to make one person relate, and
Okay.
now the goal is कि like if someone hasn't heard a song even in one performance when they're at a concert, like to be able to make something जो के पूरा crowd जो है उससे like relate कर रहा हो. So in recent times, I feel like I have done that as well with certain crowds, but that's again just dependent on like the number of people watching and stuff. Now, like, I mean, either with time will tell if I've successfully done that or not. But I do like to think that I'm on the
On the
path.
path. Yeah. So let's also talk about something I was interested in was you mentioned that place that you were interning at जिन्होंने कहा था वो तुम्हारी album record कर देंगे. Okay, that I'm assuming that didn't happen. But how did you go about recording the album? Like how does this work? मेरे पास like the examples that I have is, for example, like Sikandar ka Mandir, like they Ali Sohail is good at it, so they just record their whole shit khud hi se. Some people have like a fully decentralized ek gana idhar, ek gana udhar. How did you go about recording music, reaching out to producers like Zara, Talal, Jamal? Chalo, you knew. Um, how did that process go? Like on a technical level, kaise was it easy to convince people? Where did you find any like celebs who were like, "Huh, bro, ye boy to good scene hai iska, and we'll hook him up with someone or is tarah ka scene."
Yeah, I wish it was that easy. Like, मतलब I mean, पिछले 4-5 सालों में ऐसे बहुत मौके आए हैं जब किसी एक सेलेब से मिला हूँ and they've just been like, boy, तेरा बहुत सीन है, और फिर लगेगा कि अब सब होने लगे हैं, but कुछ होता नहीं है. End में lesson यही है कि हर चीज खुद करनी होती है. Like, मतलब you have to be out there, like actually working hard to make sure कि like मतलब everything, मतलब no one is just gonna magically show up and help you out. The album, bro, like the reason that it took 2 years to make, although it's a very small, like 25 minute ki to album hai, but it's just because it took me so long to find people. It took me, like, for example, Talal ki agar baat kare, like I met Talal in 2018 maybe.
Okay.
When he played a show at True Brew, and us waqt I played him some of my music and he liked it and he was like, "Haan, dekhte hain, like let's work on something." And then I sent him the stems and like we were like, "Haan, this was CGPA by the way, like we were initially going to work on CGPA." So हमने कहा कि मतलब इस पे काम करते हैं, and then he just kind of ditched me.
Okay.
And a year later, after I'd been working, like he'd been, उसने follow मुझे किया हुआ था अभी भी Instagram पे, so he'd been like देख रहा था वो मुझे constantly, and after a year, he felt like अच्छा now I've worked hard enough to like मतलब be in a place where he can also like मतलब trust me with certain stuff like उस sense में. So then it took मतलब वो साल बाद like we started speaking again. I sent him some demos. He loved them, and then he sent me the beat for Boxers again, and I like मतलब वो गाना हमने घंटे के अंदर बनाया था like. But उस sense में it did take some time to convince people. But I think the person behind the whole album mainly is Zara Paracha, because Zara से मैं मिला हूँ और Zara से मिलने से पहले तक ये सब कुछ था. गाने भी मेरे पास डिसाइडेड थे कि कौन से होने हैं, बट कुछ हुआ नहीं हुआ था. आई जस्ट हैड डेमोज. आई लाइक मैंने कभी तक कुछ रिकॉर्ड नहीं किया हुआ था, कुछ मिक्स मास्टर कुछ भी नहीं हुआ हुआ था. सो आई थिंक Zara was exactly who I needed उस वक्त. She was a producer who believed in me and who believed in my sound, who didn't give me any advice as such कि नहीं इसको ये करते थे इसको. It was purely what I wanted, and she just gave me like the technical knowledge and the technical space कि like boy आजा तू स्टूडियो में बैठते हैं, like vocals भी सारे रिकॉर्ड कर देंगे, दो गाने में प्रोड्यूस भी कर दूंगी, आधे से ज्यादा मिक्स भी कर दूंगी. So it was like a blessing basically finding Zara P. Like she's the OG, she's the person like without whom like technically this album would have probably taken a year longer to release. Like
Okay. And so वही मैं सोच रहा था because again we did one of the recent episodes we did was Pakistan में music industry नहीं है और you know things are very difficult because of this, because people just have to run around, there's no structure to the whole thing. So would it have been better for you like in, because you worked with multiple people, uh, had you worked with one producer, there would have been a बहुत ही consistent, perhaps, sound in the album. But because you've worked with these fully unique people who have their own identity, like Azara Bracha song, you can immediately link it to her work, for example, with Sikandar Kamandar and such, because of the looping chords that she's put through the whole song. Talal Qureshi ki bilkul apni ek unique hai. But then the other songs of the album, they have a different sort of vibe. Would you have preferred a structure like an industry? Yeah, in the end, are you perhaps happier with the way it came out that you got to collab with these people?
Um, yeah, that's a really good question. I think there's pros and cons for both things, just because of the fact that I never got that the chance to like make, for example, 8 songs with the same person. Just now, for example, I don't know if you're familiar with Hassan Rahim from Karachi.
Yeah,
Hassan Rahim, Abdullah Kazumbi. So
yeah.
Hassan Rahim, except for the songs that he
Sorry,
did,
Hassan Rahim is Abdullah Kasumbi?
and Abdullah
Oh,
Kazumbi,
right,
na?
right. Because I was like, bro, ये अच्छा Abdullah Kasumbi मैं देख रहा
is equal to like
हूँ. Okay, सही सही, थोड़ी सी पड़ गई मेरी, but चलो ठीक है. Yeah, yeah. So
नहीं,
there were,
but yeah,
yeah.
उनका वो सीन रहा है ना कि अदर देन जो अभी हसन पे तलाल के साथ निकला है, उसके अलावा हसन का जो गाना है वो किस्मबी ने प्रोड्यूस किया है. सो उसकी वजह से हसन की भी एक साउंड बन गई है. बट आई फील लाइक डिस्पाइट नॉट हैविंग दैट सेम थिंग, मेरी भी एक साउंड बन गई है. बट आई फील लाइक द Yain City कि I wouldn't change it in the sense कि I wouldn't want कि मैं एक ही बंदे के साथ पूरी एल्बम बनाता, because मेरा म्यूजिक इतना like schizophrenic hai कि like it's just every time I sit down to write I don't know where it's gonna go.
Right.
Like matlab I do sit down with the matlab approach of making a catchy song कि like something that people कि either या तो melody दिमाग में फंस जाए या lyrics दिमाग में फंस जाए, कुछ it has to be hooky. But I don't know whether it's gonna be like a hip hop angry type song or it's gonna be like a sweet song of like ek khata or something.
Okay.
Sorry. So yeah,
Once this
I
album
think
comes out, it came out like towards the end of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Acha. So what has the audience, how has your relationship been with the audience? We've talked a bit about how pehle ek banda tha, do log the, flashlights, all of that. But also there is now a big thing of, again, wahi wali baat, not having an industry. You are your own agent, marketing guy, social media person, if I'm not mistaken. सब कुछ तुम ही कर रहे हो एंड
नहीं, सब कुछ मैं नहीं कर रहा, सब
ओ नहीं कर
कुछ
रहे.
ये वाली सारी चीजें जो हैं, my best friend Siki, who is also my manager, who
Okay.
also now manages Talal Qureshi
Oh, very
and
good.
Rup. And like मतलब ऐसे उसकी कोई इस तरह की कोई, he doesn't come from like a management background or something. We were just living together, and he's just
Right.
really good at making friends.
Okay.
So like that's how he
Good.
started, and now he's like in demand and full manager boy. But like he handles all of that. In that sense, I'm really lucky कि because we have a good understanding, like he can trust me to just work on the music stuff, and the rest का मुझे like मतलब वो भी joint effort होती है, but to a certain extent I can just be like अच्छा मैंने अपना काम कर लिया, अब ये बाकी करते हैं, मतलब
Right.
देखेंगे क्या.
That's great because what I was leading towards was had you been like the face of everything and running around after everything, there's a lot of social media response भी एक हद तक इंसान बर्दाश्त कर सकता है ना. So I was wondering what the audience response was to the album. Were people like स्टैंड ऑफिश टाइप के ये कौन है ब्रो एकदम से ये कहाँ से आ गया रैप क्यों कर रहा है ये कुछ हमारे लोग थोड़ा करते भी हैं ऐसा एंड just what was the audience reaction type? I'm also asking because Mogambo में थोड़ा there's like a reference to audience थोड़ा getting a bit too familiar वो वाला scene. So I just wanted to see if there is like a story there.
Yeah, so Yain City, although it released like end of 2020, the whole album का release का scene यही था कि जो ही गाना बनता था मैं release करता जाता था. So
Right, right,
it was just like एक गाना रह गया था, which was the outro.
right.
And so once that released, उसके साथ ही हमने कहा अच्छा पूरी album अब as an album भी like in a
ठीक
track
ठीक.
list order because it was supposed to be that way. वो भी निकल आई है. So मुझे like as I released every song, like मुझे मतलब feedback मिलता रहे लोगों से. But yeah, initially I think the problem was just that it wasn't reaching enough people. तो इसलिए इतना अच्छा response नहीं आता था. But then like for the longest time तो bro ये scene था कि मैं इतने ज़्यादा shows बजा रहा था कि like ये गाने आधे से ज़्यादा like release भी नहीं हुए हुए थे and people still knew them.
Right.
So when they released, people were mostly like, they weren't like "ये कौन है?" They were like, "Finally,
No,
we can
right.
listen to this." And
Right.
जो असल लेकिन feedback मुझे मिलना शुरू हुआ है ना is like as we were discussing before as well, is when like I started collabing with people like Abdullah. And like Abdullah वाले गाने के बाद एकदम से एक new audience like who didn't know of me पहले because he है already वो like जरा big leagues में खेल रहा है उस sense में. So उसकी वजह से there's a huge influx of people who had heard me for the first time. तो उन लोगों से भी जो दिया I mean I feel like I'm really lucky because मुझे अभी तक बहुत गंदे comments नहीं मिले लोगों से. Like एक दो comments हमेशा आ जाते हैं YouTube पे ये वो कि ये क्या कर रहे हैं तो ये क्या तो wanna be this तो wanna be that, but
Right.
like it's not enough for me to like matlab, be bothered by it. I think Mogambo it's not like matlab, Mogambo is not like I hate my audience type. It's just like ekdam se, like people kind of start looking at you differently when you start matlab, doing something in life. So it's just like now everyone kind of wants to know कि अच्छा इसका क्या scene है तो अच्छा what are you doing next weekend तो ये क्या हो रहा है वो क्या हो रहा है and it's just like कि यार अच्छा ठीक है मतलब easy है like I love you
Yeah.
easy scene but I mean I am who I am. Mugambo is more like about an attitude to have कि यार देखो I'm cool, it's okay. Like it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
that's the
Okay.
yeah.
So, but Khair, there's also a big factor about why people aren't hating on it is because the album is also very, it's also good music, obviously on the one hand, but it's also again relatable. तो लोगों को सुन के भी, even if you're not like मैं rap सुनता हूँ, I'm like a rap hip hop head or whatever. Even if you're not that kind of person, when you listen to it, it's accessible. I think enough for people कि वो bad vibes वाला scene बनता ही नहीं.
I
तो
hope so.
yeah. No, trust me, I'm an expert. What how has your relation, I'm done with like the list wale sawalat. We've talked about pretty much everything. So something a bit more abstract I was wondering about was how has your relationship after shuru mein mushkilein or ye wo, maybe this is not applicable at all, but shuru mein you were running after people and उनको अपने म्यूजिक सुना रहे थे, maybe they can connect you with somebody important or give you advice, वो नहीं मिल रहा. Then you start sending people. Zara helps you out. You work with Talal, etc. गाने release हो रहे हैं. What has the gig scene been in 2020? Off था because of COVID या फिर भी हो रहे थे थोड़े बहुत?
That it started really well with LMM before
Yeah,
COVID hit.
yeah.
And then 8 महीने कोई gigs नहीं हुई, and then जो first phase और second phase के बीच में 1 महीना नहीं आया था where everyone was like ये खत्म हो
खत्म हो
गया.
गया.
So उस time पे like we just capitalized on that time and we played like 5 shows in 1 month or something. We were like बस जो chance मिला बजा देंगे.
सही है.
Like हाँ यही scene था.
Okay.
But अब जाके like I don't know honestly कि gigs वगैरह कब होनी शुरू, but that's the main like source of income for all musicians. So I
Yeah.
really hope कि कोई scene शुरू हो जाए. Like I mean if people are saying कि like शादियों पे जाना इतना जरूरी है, तो like फिर हमें भी पैसे तो कमाने दो यार. Like
Yeah,
क्या?
yeah. शादियों पे जाना तो obviously is a priority of the country. लेकिन तो now that you are not, again it's only been 5 years, but ये 5 years भी तुम्हारे काफी formative थे. I think the question that I'm sort of trying to formulate is, has your relationship in your mind, the way you feel about being a musician, making music, that sort of stuff, एक एक जमाना तो तुम घर पे थे, you know, you're just making music at home, थोड़े थोड़े concerts कर लिए. Now you're a person with like an album आ चुकी है boy की, and you know he's like a real artist जो एक होता है ना जो, which is not real until you're making money. Do you feel differently about the whole thing? Is it still positive? Are there lessons that you have learned, that you, things that you completely didn't think of when you were Manu just after A levels, just sitting at home making songs? Has there been something completely unexpected in this journey that other people might should know, might be worth knowing for other people?
Yeah, I feel like I don't like if I could go back in time and meet like a past version of myself, like all I would say, like I wouldn't tell myself to do anything differently. Like
Right.
I'd just be like, hey, just don't lose hope, bro. और करते रहो, कुछ ना कुछ हो जाएगा. Like I honestly feel कि like I mean कोई इतनी कोई special बात नहीं थी. Like मेरी भी like journey में or anything, it's just consistency. Like if you just decide that you have to do something, you end up doing it. Like um there have been points जो बीच में, like for example LMM, like LMM was something that I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it was something जो मैंने हमेशा रखा हुआ था कि damn, like one day I'm gonna reach that point कि like okay I'll play LMM and stuff. And then it happened last year, and there's outdoor stage होता है LMM पे, and then there's hall one वाला headline stage. And headline जो है तलाल कर रहा था, and there was always a dream कि अच्छा ठीक है अभी कर लिया outdoor, कभी ना कभी headline भी करेंगे. And like Talal ke set mein, like he decided to do Pak Se Zameen with me, so I got to perform at the headline stage as well. And things like these, when they happen, it's like in the matlab it aapki thodi phat si jati hai. Ye kya hua this? In the sense that this wasn't supposed to happen yet. Like
Right.
I mean,
Right.
we recently be like a couple of projects have been confirmed that I don't know if I'm like allowed to talk about yet, but I mean, will be like everyone's gonna know about them soon. But that's also like pushing me to like a different level immediately.
Yeah.
And that was again something that like I could have never ever imagined in my wildest dreams. Ke, like at 23 मेरे साथ ये हो रहा होगा or something like that. So इस तरह की चीजें होती. I mean, if there's anyone listening who's starting out or anything, the one thing that I would say is just don't get disheartened. यार, like हर कोई हर वक्त कह ही रहा होता है कि ये चीज करना बहुत मुश्किल है, ये बहुत मुश्किल है, मेडिसिन बहुत मुश्किल है, तो हर चीज ही मुश्किल होती है. लाइक क्या करें? Who told you it's gonna be easy? Like,
but this leads in very well into, I suppose, what can be a final question is कि अभी album आ गई, 2020 is gone, LMM भी final stage, main stage पे हो गया है. You've mentioned you have some projects. What happens now? What is your trajectory that you can talk about? What are you looking to do?
yeah, I'm just like I just started. Like this was the first album. Like I've only put down like 12-13 songs yet.
Yeah.
Like abhi to shuru hui hai. Abhi to I'm like abhi mera khud bhi music is obviously going to evolve itself as well and everything. I'm
Hmm.
just at this point because I'm in between projects in the sense that I just put out a project, and although I know what the next project, I have like two projects almost ready. Like
Sahi.
matlab, so I'm kind of in between them right now. So at this point, I'm just taking it one day at a time type, and just because Yain City का यार, it was always like 2 सालों से एक मोड यही था कि अच्छा Yain City बनानी है, यही आठ गाने हैं, इन्हीं आठ गानों को किसी तरह से बनाना है. Now
Okay.
it's like I'm in a space where I get to properly think about कि यार अच्छा अब इतने को हजार लोग हैं जो कि already wait कर रहे हैं for the next song that I'm going to put out. So what is it that I'm going to like? This is for the first time I get to scheme these things out as well. So
Right.
I mean, and again, like to be honest, like हम लोग जब भी कोई scheme करते हैं, it never really goes according to plan. But at the same time, like खुद ही चीजें होनी भी शुरू हो जाती हैं, and then you're just like, मतलब I was just me and my manager Siki were just discussing this the other day कि like आई मीन अगर हम 4-5 साल पहले लाइक जाके अपने आप को बताए ना कि ये हो रहा होगा 4-5
Yeah.
सालों में, we would never ever be able to believe it, be like it ain't क्या शराब like कोई scene.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Okay. I
I
was
think
gonna ask
I've
if
just getting started. There's a lot of music that's
yeah.
gonna come out in 2021,
Hmm.
almost 2 albums worth of music,
Oh really?
and before that be a lot of singles, some of like revisiting old sounds, like some acoustic music is also dropping very soon, just to spice, just to confuse people more, and just to be they're expecting ये boy अभी आके rap करेगा और मैं बस बहुत इस सेंटी सा एक गाना
हाँ.
गा दूंगा
No,
like
because that's I वही जब मैं research कर रहा था, I was looking for like interviews and pictures, and like वही तस्वीरें आ रही हैं of you with shorter hair, not short hair, but shorter
yeah.
hair and an acoustic button. I was like ये rap ये वाले गाने तो नहीं हो सकते इसमें, but unless they're very different.
So that
Um,
was for the longest time. Like, matlab, this is very like making electronic music is 2 years old and having long hair is like 8 months old. Like,
right, right.
yeah.
Hmm. And this is a full-time thing now. Like you've mentioned in a few things that this is, as far as you're concerned, अभी graduation हो जाएगी, सब कुछ खत्म हो जाएगा. This is what you will be doing.
This is primarily what I'll be doing, but hopefully I'll be doing a lot of stuff because, like I said, abhi I haven't reached that point where I can be like, yeah, ab main like consistently music se paise kama sakta hu.
Hmm.
Abhi wo wala point nahi aaya. I'm
Hmm.
hoping to get there one day. Once I do, then I'll be able to say कि हाँ, like अब मैं full time कर रहा हूँ. Because abhi I still get to get away with the oh my god, I'm a student and I'm doing my passion project saath look
Right,
at me wo wala scene, and
right.
everyone's impressed, but in like 3 months I'm going to be a musician and I'm unemployed. So like wo
Right.
mere zara change ho jati hai like.
Are there any people you're looking specifically looking forward to working with? अगर chance मिला, yeah. If you're already working with them, so I understand कि you can't mention it फिलहाल. But is there anyone you're like, bro, इसके साथ अब काम करना? Like Talal Qureshi, you're sort of you achieve that. Maybe
Yeah,
more.
Talal and I also have a lot of unreleased music together as well. Some for his album and some for mine. Those songs I'm really, really excited about. Really, really excited. And Hassan Rahim ke saath mera ek gana hai, which is coming out very soon. And Hassan Rahim is also on 2 songs from one of my next albums that I'm really excited for. People that I want to work with, like who I have established contact with, but I want to eventually work with are number one young stunners. I'm a huge
Right.
stunner fan. Like, who boys joins the kings and hip hop. So I just want to work with them, learn from them, and like well, they're playing in different leagues right now.
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah. Yeah. They
it's
and they've been around for like a long time.
10
I don't.
सालों से लगेंगे bro, इतनी
Yeah.
देर.
Because I remember I think
मैंने नहीं लगानी.
मैं पाकिस्तान में था और उस वक्त भी youngsters थे, but they're not very old, right? Like, because I look at like their
My age, yeah.
हाँ, तो कब से कर रहे हैं, फिर पता नहीं फटे भी हो गए थे और बीफ भी चल रही थी और so much has happened and they're still so young. But खैर, अच्छा, some important things that I want to clarify, like I mentioned, because of my status as an old person who is not from Lahore, a few terms that I want to just clarify, just so I understand the album. हाँ, वो अगर आप मुझे बता सकें कि येन, what is येन?
what do you think, Ian? What's the meaning that comes to your mind when you hear it in respect, like independently, and then in context of the album, like in मेरे context में जो मैं use कर रहा होता हूँ.
I have no framework because it doesn't sound like anything I have heard of.
अच्छा.
Being not from Lahore, uh, uh, but it sounds like it's not positive, but also not like an insult. It's like somewhere in between. If it's like Yain City of Lahore being as what I know about Lahore, um, yeah, it's sort of like a murky gray area in between जहाँ good चीजें भी हो रही हैं, bad चीजें भी हो रही हैं, and you're just making it through. But again, this is maybe something also that I'm coming up with on the spot.
Yeah, so Yain is like हमारी generation में especially बड़ा एक slang ना like उसमें use होता है. इसने कराची में बचोदी नहीं use होता.
Yeah,
So
sure.
this is literally like the replacement word
Oh,
for that. Like it can mean different things in context के हिसाब से. Like it can, like I would say, like broadly it means chaos.
okay,
Like
okay.
for example, like आप बहुत ज़्यादा rush में फंसे हो यार, बहुत येन मची हुई है दरिया में, बहुत येन
Hmm.
फंसा हूँ. एक वो वाली any type of ख्वारी उस sense में भी येन हो सकती है. Or yen can also be like यार हम बोर हो रहे हैं आजा कोई yen डालते हैं. So it can also mean excitement. So Lahore mein, like you said, there's always good kinds of yen and also bad kind of yen, like wo chal raha hai. So I just
Right.
felt that Yain City, especially if it is a term that's very Lahore in the sense that Lahore
Yeah.
mein zyada use होती है compared to like अब वैसे Karachi में भी like I just visited recently and a lot of people were using it. I was like yes, but yeah, so the
Contribution
idea
to
was to
culture.
get a term पकड़ लो that like immediately if like हमारी generation की if you say yen like immediately they'll be able to relate to you more all of a sudden, like so that was the whole idea कि like taking a word from our wo and like kind of just making that an icon just that can represent all of us, like. And although like matlab it is kind of like in kuch it's not a very formal term like आप बड़ों के सामने ना बोलो or something, but at the same time like matlab I feel like इस तरह के words the contextual meanings are more important, and like अगर हजारों लाखों लोग जो हैं उसको innocently use कर रहे हैं तो like
Hmm.
और फिर
And
वैसे भी अब रेडियो पे लोग कह रहे होते हैं एनसीटी तो अब कुछ हो नहीं
yeah,
सकता.
it's good word in the title. कहाँ भागोगे? Uh,
क्या क्या हो सकता है.
and what is who are you, Chotas? Sorry, I'm asking बहुत ही ना clinical सवाल. So you are Chotas? What is who is Chotas? Is it you? Is it like your crew or क्या?
Yeah, no, Chotis is an alter ego. Like it's मतलब छोटस मुझे मेरी खाला बचपन में बुलाती थी, अभी भी बुलाती है.
Hmm.
लेकिन फिर वो एक पॉइंट पे एक ironic चीज होगी because I'm really tall, so
Right.
मतलब
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just a nickname that people like my family used to call me.
Okay.
And like when I was writing CGPA, I was just like, मतलब मैंने बस उस वक्त in the moment it wasn't like a preconceived वो कुछ छोटस एक चीज थी, I was just like आ रहा है छोटस
Yeah.
type एक
Yeah.
वो. And I was like, no, this is cool. Like, I have a rap name now. Like, so Chotas is like Yain City, mein especially, it's like an introduction to like the bipolarity in my music. So, and a way for me to make that easier to understand for people was if I like matlab, divided them into two personalities. So
Hmm.
Maanu is like all of the more like poppy R&B and love-centric music, like about all of that stuff. And Chotas is the more like hip hop and like attitude, वो जो एक
Right.
body होता
Right.
है
Right.
with Chotas.
Is there something that you wanted to talk about, perhaps, that we haven't got around to, or like generally something you want to make known that आप ये हमारा प्लेटफॉर्म आप यूज कर ले, पांच लोग देखते हैं.
Yeah, nee, I think I really enjoyed. I think Sari, I think everything. I mean, we discussed slightly different things from what generally podcasts are about, which was very nice. But
Okay.
I think yeah, like just something that I would want to stress more is like the identity for Lahore doesn't start and end with Yen City. Like even Yen is a running theme. Like even the next project, like I don't want to give the name away,
Hmm.
but like even that is a very Yen themed. वो उसकी भी है. And there's another project that I'm working on with another Lahori rapper called Rosio. उसके साथ भी over quarantine we made a 14 track hip hop album.
अच्छा,
And
14.
yeah, so
Wow.
that has elements of the postcard, like वो जो मैंने बताया था, postcard perception of Lahore, in the sense कि like you can't at the same time deny कि like मतलब हमारी एक बहुत rich history है और एक बड़ी rich non-white history भी है.
Yeah.
So and like non-influenced by like in just even musically, like we have such a rich musical culture, like Hindustan ka, like overall.
Yeah.
So the next project with him is a lot of it has elements of that as well, and matlab, it just sounds different from it hopefully will sound different from any other hip hop that you've heard in the country, because it's elements of new and old, but still I feel like this album musically will hit home like matlab more than Yain City did, because Yain City for a lot of people it was still ke, like acha, haan, western type beats and stuff, like matlab, you know, like wo masses wala wo nahi hua.
Okay.
But
Okay.
hopefully with that one, so that's something that I would want people to like keep out look for. Like that's something that's going to be dropping soon.
One very specific thing that, because of who I am as a person, I wanted to compliment you on is, I don't know if this is like an issue anymore, but I do appreciate how proper in your songs your talaffuz is. I don't know where that's coming from. Maybe तुम्हारे, you know, maybe घर में बात full properly होती है, या Eastern music background है, या जो भी है. But that is something that I not surprised, but like I noticed, oh bro, boy की उर्दू जो है ना वो साफ है. मतलब it's not yeah, because I mean it's not a thing that's as common anymore with people speaking English or slang or whatever. I don't know, but it's just something I wanted to state. बहुत,
No, thank you
yeah.
so much. Like, I try like those sense me like even with the stuff that I'm writing these days and like recent more unreleased stuff, I've tried to like matlab, well, आपकी पूरी like younger life is just like your whole orientation becomes outward and you're like नहीं मैंने गोरा होना है और मैंने अंग्रेजी बोलनी है और मैंने ये करना है और like
Yeah.
मैं Pink Floyd वो वाला scene होता है, and then
Yeah.
I feel like through because I'm at a liberal arts college and everything, उसकी वजह से like मेरा दिमाग थोड़ा सा decolonized भी हुआ है उस sense में,
That's
and
good.
like
Yeah.
I'm just focusing more on like अच्छा हम लोगों का क्या scene है bro, बहुत सुन लिया बाहर को, like अच्छा like it's time for us now, you know, like मतलब एक वो वाला. So
Yeah.
thank you, that means a lot. Like
No, it's great, and really, I think we started with this vibe and ending with ये हम लोगों का क्या scene है. It really, I think you are achieving it, and you know, we're good for this episode. Thank you for taking the time. I think we're going to stop recording soon. Where do you want people to get in touch with you, or should they not get in touch with you? बस मेरे गाने सुनो काफी है. Your Instagram is your main audience connection portal thing.
Yeah, for any inquiries or fan mail or anything,
Yeah.
like you can reach me at Instagram or at Manu's
I'll
Music.
put the thing.
And my
Yep.
music is available everywhere that you can listen to music.
बिल्कुल,
And
बिल्कुल.
yeah, please keep supporting, man. And yeah,
Yeah,
thank
it's great.
you.
We're big fans. आप भी सुनिए, हम भी सुन रहे हैं, and hopefully things will get better. एक तो वैसे भी for everyone, and so also that we can have gigs वगैरह. Mouse up. Thank you very much for coming. I'm gonna stop recording now, and
Thank you so much for having me, man. I had a great time. Thank you.
That's great. That's great. We always झूठी ही सही हम ही इसको तारीफ ले लेंगे. But ठीक है जी. Thanks guys. The usual shit is in the description. Bye everyone.